So Andrew Gillum went on CNN show State of the Union. Of course, Andrew Gillum just won the Democratic primary to become Florida governor. He's running against Ron DeSantis, who's a Trump-style Republican. But when he went on CNN here, they tried to play got ya on the issue of health care and Medicare for all. So it didn't go well for the host Dana Bash here. I think that Gillum did a superb job fighting back, but let's take a look and then we'll discuss.
You mentioned that you support Medicare for all. A study earlier this summer from George Mason University estimates that Medicare for all, that plan, would cost the government $33 trillion with a T dollars over the next decade, which obviously would require a significant tax increase. Florida has a reputation, as you know, for being a tax-averse state. Are you ready to tell the people of Florida that they need to pay a lot more in taxes to fund your health care plan?
Well, let me first say there was also a report, Dana, that showed that should we move to cover more people through a Medicare for all system, we could actually save the system trillions over an extended period of time.
You could, but in the short term, in order to do
that,
you need to raise taxes. Fair?
So what I would say is, first of all, and I want to be clear about this, the state of Florida could not take this road by itself. We would need to do it as part of a federation of other states coming together. Think of Florida, New York, California,
but
and
sir,
a few of the other larger states. In order to do that,
taxes would have to be raised. Is that fair? Do you agree with that?
I don't buy that. So let me just say, for instance,
how do you do that? How do you find that kind of money for the government without raising taxes?
So first, I'd say, one, Florida could not do it by itself. But secondly, we have the opportunity to expand Medicaid for over 700,000 of the most medically needy people here in the state of Florida. My governor and legislature refused to do that. Do you know it costs us about $6 billion in money that should have come from the federal government to the state of Florida that we never received? And so I'm simply saying, and this I want to be clear, Dana, this is very personal to me. I remember growing up as a kid having to wait for the mobile dental clinic to come through the neighborhood in order to have my teeth cleaned.
Yeah, I know.
The biggest
you have
concern
experiences,
for people,
and you're coming from a real place, a personal place, in supporting this. But as a government official, you have to make it work, and you have to make the numbers work. And so I still don't understand how you would do it without raising taxes.
So the first step we would take is expand Medicaid and pull down about $6 billion a year from the federal government. That's important. Secondly, as governor of the state of Florida, I would work to bring a number of the largest states into a conversation around how it is together we might be able to negotiate prices and access to health care to cover more people and ensure that even those of us who are insured, who are right now paying premium increases year over year over year, all because Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump have worked overtime to make access to health care less affordable.
Will you say that you will not support raising taxes to make your health care plan work?
I will absolutely not raise taxes on everyday working Floridians to give access to additional people.
What about wealthier people?
So what I said, and I ran on this, by the way, is that we will increase taxes for corporations in our state who right now, just so you're aware, only 3% of companies in the state of Florida pay the corporate tax rate, 3%. And that 3% under the Donald Trump tax scam got a windfall of $6.3 billion overnight due to the tax reform that took place in Washington, D.C. We're not asking for all of it. We simply said we believe that we ought to bring $1 billion of that money back into the state's government because being a cheap date state has not worked for the state of Florida. And unfortunately, we've got to do that if we're going to be a leading state.
So Andrew Gillum did a fantastic job there. But it has to be said, Dana Bash, that was shameful. She's a propagandist. She's terrible at her job. That was horrendous is what that was. But in fact, her being so bad, that's actually why she's in the position she's in, because she's going to be a puppet to corporate interests, and she's not going to represent the will of the people, and she's not going to give you facts and information. Look at the framing of everything she said there. Actually, first of all, what needs to be pointed out is she kept interrupting him. Over and over and over again, she interrupted. He would be in the middle of an answer, and she would interrupt him. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I got to give him a lot of credit because he was like Neo from the Matrix, dodging the bullets there, but she was trying to play gotcha. And I remember when CNN did this exact same thing to Bernie Sanders, and he made the mistake of being totally straightforward about it. So they asked him in a debate, during the primary, wouldn't you raise taxes with your Medicare for All plan? And Bernie's answer went something like this. Yes, but it would net save the American people money. Why? Because the current healthcare system is way more expensive. There would be zero deductible, zero copays, and you could stop paying your private premium. But yes, your taxes would be raised, but net you would be saving money because there's no more private premium, which is more expensive, and the amount of money coming out for taxes would be less expensive. So yes, the taxes get raised, but you're net saving money because there's no more private premium, which is more expensive. That was Bernie Sanders' answer. How did CNN put that in their headline on their website? Bernie Sanders, yes, I'm going to raise your taxes. See, that's what we call the definition of out-of-context propaganda on purpose to try to smear an idea that's a good idea that would help the American people, but you're smearing on behalf of corporate interests. You're smearing on behalf of private for-profit health insurance companies, which the corporate media is in bed with, by the way. So that's exactly what was happening here. She kept trying to get him. Oh, but you have to raise taxes, right? And he was like, well, listen, if you look at the actual evidence on this, you look at the studies on this, Medicare for All would actually save money. And what does she say? Instead of admitting, okay, you're right, yes, even the Mercatus Koch-funded study, a right-wing study found Medicare for All would save $2 trillion, I'll back off of that claim now. No. Instead of admitting, oh, you're correct, what does she do? Yes, but you'll still have to raise taxes, right? See, I'm trying to do propaganda on purpose. I'm trying to get you to say something that I can then take you out of context and smear you about. That's what that is. That's exactly what that is. And people claim that it's a liberal media. Get the fuck out of liberal media. If anything, outlets like CNN and the nightly news, they're so cognizant of the far right screaming at them all day long and saying, oh, you're biased, liberal media, liberal media, liberal media, that they bend over backwards to try to not appear liberal. And in the process, they're just smearing a left-wing candidate here when he's totally correct on the facts. So I actually like the fact that he didn't say it like Bernie did, where Bernie would just put it all out there. Yes, I'll raise taxes, but it'll save you money. Because Gillum may have known, because he may have seen that experience. Oh, I can't say that because then they'll take me out of context. So what did he do? He was just like, no, I'm not going to raise taxes. I like that. And by the way, that might even not necessarily be true. But I like that he said that because now you got to play the game because you know they're trying to smear you. You know they're trying to do propaganda. So what does he say? No, I'm not going to raise taxes. And Medicare for All would save money. Oh, would you promise that right now that you're not going to raise taxes? I promise I'm not going to raise taxes for regular working Floridians. Oh, brilliant, Andrew Gillum. Brilliant. And then Dana Bash caught on to that. And what does she do? He checkmated her because he put her in a position where her only response is exactly what she said. Okay, but will you raise taxes on the wealthy? Ah, now we get what you're concerned about, Dana Bash. What about me and my money and people like me? People who make millions of dollars a year, will you raise my taxes? Gasp. Yes, I will. His response was basically yes. And why can you say that? Because the polls show people are for raising taxes on corporations. They're for raising taxes on the rich. And by the way, his other answer was great too. He said, we're also going to accept the Medicaid expansion, which means we'll immediately get $6 billion from the federal government. That's one way that we're going to pay for this. And the other thing we're going to do is I'm going to meet with the governors from other states that want to do a Medicare for All system, and we'll get maybe 4 or 5 of us together, and we'll do a Medicare for All system for all of our states. We can't go at it alone. And there's a factual reason for him to make that argument, too, because it happened in Vermont, where Vermont, they were trying to get a Medicare for All system in the state, but what happened was it was basically killed by outside forces. If you're going against powerful industries if you try to do a Medicare for All system, so they're going to pull out all the stops in order to try to prevent you from doing that. And that's what happened in Vermont. They were crushed by outside forces. So, but if you have fucking California and New York and Florida all do it together, well, then you have enough clout where you're not going to get crushed by those outside forces. So that's what Gillum was pointing to. So I think he did a wonderful job there, but I'm disgusted by Dana Bash. She's so bad at her job. Like, that's so bad. And I don't even think she realizes that she's doing corporate propaganda. It's like fucking Jake Tapper who thinks, you're entitled to your opinion, you're not entitled to your own facts, and then he proceeds to give his own corporate opinions. He got fucking hammered over his incorrect fact check on Medicare for All, but he's so smug in the process. Like, no, obviously I'm right. They're the worst, man. I honestly think CNN, it might be the worst because as they pretend they're so fucking over the top and smug in their facts first. This is an apple. This is not a banana. I don't care what Trump says. But you guys do fake news all the time. You're doing it right now. There was just a scandal about a source that they had where they said, oh, the source didn't comment on it. And then come to find out, that guy did comment on it and he was their source. This was all outed, and then CNN sticks by the story. And you wonder why Trump can call you fake news and it fucking sticks. Because you do a lot of fake news. You're corporate propagandists. You do a lot of fake news. You get caught lying and you double down like fucking children. You suck at your job. How can it possibly be? I'm watching an interview here with a politician and somebody who's supposed to be a journalist, and the politician is giving me more truth than the journalist. That's the saddest thing I've ever... That should never be the dynamic, ever. It should always be that the reporter, the journalist, is giving more truth than the politician, who on some level is paid to give their interpretation of things, to represent the people, but give their philosophy, so they're gonna put their spin on it. But Andrew Gillum is speaking more truth than Dana Bash there, who's doing corporate propaganda all day long. If you're a real news agency, you wouldn't be able to talk about the issue of healthcare without bringing up the objective fact that the U.S. is the only developed country that doesn't have one version or another of a single-payer system, and we also fare the worst compared to all the other countries. Those are all facts. That's what the studies bear out. That's not my opinion. But here you have a fucking journalist or reporter whose entire position in this interview is, I'm going to try to find a way to make it look like your idea, which is just to catch up to the rest of the developed world, is ridiculous. And you're doing that because you're a corporate puppet. That's why you're in the position you're in, and you don't even realize it.